Mike Sears. I'm the president and founder of Sears Wealth Management Insurance Solutions. And joining me today is Seth Morse, who's one of the advisors in our firm. And welcome, Seth. We're delighted to have you with us today.
Thanks, Mike. And I want to give a welcome to everyone who's joining us on the call today. This is our 9th live broadcast that we've done. Just want to mention that if there's anything that's of particular importance to you or interest, please send us a chat or a message, email, and we'd like to discuss it in future live broadcasts. It's very important for us to discuss things that are meaningful to you. Also, if you'd like to participate during this broadcast, please use the chat feature on your phone or your computer. It helps us know who's there. We'll try and get to your questions if we can.
By the way, about a week after each one of these broadcasts, we repost these on our website. You can go to www.searswealth.com. You can also go to our Facebook channel, and you can also go to YouTube. And we're starting now to have quite a library a video library of some of our past events and also specific videos that we've created ourselves. The whole intent was to provide an educational format for you and to learn at your leisure topics that may be important to you. So go there and check it out and see if there's some information that you'd like to review, and do it again and again. You can invite others to join you as well. So that'll be great. As you noticed in preparation for this meeting, our topic today is navigating the road of Medicare. And of course, we're very excited to introduce to you our special guest, Heidi Broberg. Heidi has spent many years in this Medicare space, and she's very talented, and she was so gracious to take the time to be with us today. And so we're delighted to have you with us, Heidi. So welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a great opportunity to be with you guys. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, Heidi, I was thinking before we hear from you a little bit, I know we've got a lot of questions we want to ask. And as Seth was mentioning to everybody, you may also have some questions. So fire away on the chat and we'll see if we can get to some of those questions. But, anytime we talk about a financial planning topic, and this is one of them, Medicare, we always want to put it in proper context. And we like to put in the context of a financial plan, because a financial plan is the centerpiece of all good planning. And you can see behind me, I have, and those of you who have seen some of the past financial planning videos, that these are the 4 key circles of financial planning: income, savings, investment, and insurance. Your entire financial life is really in these 4 circles. And of course, when we talk about what is the urgent element of our financial plan, or what is the foundation of all good financial planning, it's really 2 things. It's cash or savings for emergencies, and it's protection. That's the foundation. And anytime that we want to build something financially, we want to have a very firm foundation to build on. And those are the 2 things: cash for emergencies and protection for the catastrophic events of life that may come our way in our lifetime. And of course, when we're talking about the insurance circle, what are we talking about? Life insurance comes to mind. Sometimes it's disability coverage. It could be long-term care coverage. And of course, a big one is health insurance, right? And anytime we talk about health insurance, and if you're getting close to age 65, the other magic word when we're talking about health insurance benefits, we're talking about Medicare. And so today's focus is really in this circle. We're talking really about health insurance planning, and Medicare will be the focus of what we talk about today.
So Heidi, I think a good place for us to start would be, could you just give us kind of a brief explanation or definition of what is Medicare? We've all heard the term, but a lot of us probably don't even know what it really is.
I think everyone's heard the term, but everyone's a little confused over it too. Mm-hmm. And that's my job. So Medicare is our country's health insurance program for people, typically people 65 and over, but also can be for folks who are on disability. So after a qualifying disability event of 2 years, you're also eligible for Medicare. And it's the program that helps with your healthcare costs. Now, again, it does not cover all medical expenses. There's a lot of gaps, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And then just to clarify, I do not work for Medicare or Social Security. So that's separate. I'm an insurance broker or agent. So I just help people find the best fit, get their Medicare started, get it processed, and then find the best Medicare options to fill in those gaps for them.
So Heidi, you mentioned, typically someone who is turning age 65 is when, we ought to start to be concerned about Medicare. So what are some of the key dates if someone is approaching 65? And that's typically, obviously, what are the key dates people should be focused on?
Right. So when you're new to Medicare or typically turning 65, you have a 7-month window. So it's 3 months before that birth date, the month of your birthday, and then 3 months after to enroll. So I like to recommend people do it ahead of time. So like my birthday is in August. I have 3 months before August to get an August 1st effective date. Because if I wait until September, which you can do 3 months after, then I wouldn't be effective till October. So you're missing out on a couple months of coverage. So those 3 months before for that birth year, whatever month you're effective, it would go into effect.
So Heidi, if a person is now approaching 65, but let's say they're still working for their employer and they've got health insurance through their employer, do they need to apply for Medicare at that point if they're still working?
That's one of the best questions you can ask, and actually can be kind of complicated as well. But if you're turning 65 and you or a spouse is still working, you are able to delay that Part B, which is the part of Medicare we'll kind of talk about in a minute here, but the part that you pay a premium for. So you can delay that if you or a spouse is working. You just need to be sure that it's credible coverage with Medicare to avoid any penalties. You can always check with Medicare to check if you don't know if yours is credible or not, but usually 20 or more employees would qualify for credible coverage.
So Heidi, back to the confusion aspect of Medicare here. I'm already confused. We've got Part B, Part A, Part D. Would you be able to help us understand the distinctions between these different parts?
There is so many parts, and people say, let's just go through the alphabet. So that's what we do. We start at Part A. So someone who's seen a Medicare card will recognize this. It has typically your Part A will be automatic when you turn 65, because that's been paid for as you or a spouse has worked for at least 10 credit years paying into taxes. So the Part A would be paid for. That Part A is your hospital benefits. So inpatient hospital, skilled nursing facility, those types of services would go under that Part A. Part B is your medical. Okay. And that is your doctor's offices, lab work, durable medical equipment would fall under that Part B. And that is what you pay the monthly premium for. So that's why someone, like we talked about before, would maybe delay that if they had other coverage. But you need to get that Part B to have the medical coverage if you don't have, an employer group plan. Then there's something called Part D, or as in prescription drug plan. And you need to make sure that you also now have a credible prescription drug plan, because you can incur a penalty for not having that. Now, usually that would be included with your employer group plan, or we'll talk about, some of the different ways that's included either in a Medicare Advantage, or you'd add it on to what we call a Medigap or supplemental policy. And those are just the basic parts. So you may hear there's so many names out there. That's the biggest confusion. But a Medicare Advantage plan, we'll talk a little bit more about that hopefully, but is also sometimes called a Part C. So if you ever have someone say, well, I need a Part C plan, that's usually your Medicare Advantage plan. So those are the basic parts of Medicare.
So Heidi, there's a question here that says, how do I apply for Medicare Part B when I stop working? I have Part A, but confused how I get Part B. Could you answer that?
Absolutely. And so that's a huge question I get a lot. And we kind of discussed this offline is people get confused because I don't work for Medicare. I can't apply for them, but you can do it a number of different ways. You can go online to medicare.gov. You can call in and speak to someone, or you can go to the local office. So a lot of people kind of get caught there and say, I don't know what to do next. So it's calling in and figuring out, if you're losing your employer group coverage in November, then we'd want you to apply for Part B November 1st and get that in the system to apply. So most people go online. I have, the form and the website on where to directly do that. That's probably the easiest way.
So when we talk about costs, again, just to review, because it's easy to go past that one. Someone's worked 10 years and paid into the system, right?
Correct. Uh-huh.
So I have 10 years of work. I've paid into it. My Part A, I get basically, because I have 10 years of work, I don't have to pay a premium for that. Correct?
Right. So I get so many people that say Part A is free. And I'm like, well, you or your spouse has paid. You've put your dues in working.
Right. And so the Part B portion is where there is an actual premium. And I think maybe you can share with the folks online here today that premium starts at a base premium, but it could be higher depending upon your income. Is that right? Could you?
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. And this has kind of changed over the years. So this is something that's evolving as well. So the standard monthly premium, 2021 is $148.50. So on average, a big chunk of people are paying that standard Part B premium rate for Part B. Although it does go off your adjusted gross income reported to the IRS from your tax return from 2 years ago, and then has a sliding scale. So that Part B premium could go up or, back down to that 148, depending on the year and your tax return from 2 years ago. And that's called IRMA. And that's my job. You guys don't have to remember that acronym, but that stands for Income Related Monthly Adjusted Amount. So that's just saying it can influence your Part B and your Part D premium if you have, a higher income on that sliding scale.
So with Part B, Heidi, we pay the premium, but we also have deductibles and coinsurance. And, my understanding, we pay about 20% of these approved services, right?
Correct. So having that A and B, and like I said, people recognize that card, that red, white, and blue Medicare A and B card, that's giving you those basic services. Now there's still a lot of gaps on there. And like we were talking about earlier with insurance, we want to make sure that we're having those gaps filled in and covered. So beyond your Medicare, this is where someone like myself really comes into play to evaluate, your best options for you to supplement that Medicare. So what we can get beyond that Medicare, above and beyond those basics, because you could be at risk for a high cost. If you had a catastrophic event and you're responsible for 20% and coinsurances, and that could get real scary. So there's different options. And the main two are, we've kind of mentioned them briefly, but a Medicare Advantage plan. Okay. And that's, you're talking about your HMOs, your PPOs, a POS plan. Those are those MAPD, Medicare Advantage, or Part C plans. Those in like Southern California, just for an example, in the Inland Empire, those are zero premium plans. So if you have that A and B and you pay that Part B, you don't have an additional premium. And that's going to include and cover those gaps. It's going to give you your credible prescription drug plan and some ancillary coverage, but you will have to see a network of doctors, okay? The other option is your supplemental, or what we call Medigap plans. And this is where you bill, Medicare is billed first as your primary, and then the insurance plan you select for your Medigap is billed secondary, and it fills in all those gaps. Those will usually start around 117 and can vary for a number of reasons. I won't go into that right now, but those allow you to go to any doctor that accepts original Medicare. So you have so much flexibility and freedom to go when and where you want and have that coverage, that safety net covering you for all those gaps that Medicare has. And this is where, a broker or agent would come into play because they help you assess your goals, your health, your risk, your budget, looking to find that right fit for you, the right company, and the plans that meet your goals beyond Medicare.
Okay. And speaking of, gaps, what if someone wanted to get dental or vision covered through Medicare? Is that possible?
Yes. Yeah. So straight Medicare alone does not offer any of those ancillary or extra benefits, but most of the plans have come a long way in offering what we call ancillary or, additional benefits. So many of the plans will include over-the-counter prescription medications. So like your Epsom salt or Tylenol or, some of those transportation, even chiropractor, acupuncture. And then the vision is great. Usually you have great vision coverage with either plan. The dental, I'm just honest with people, they're coming. They've come a long way since when I started. There was never any dental included. So some of them do have dental, but it's still very basic. So I typically will recommend if you need dental coverage, you want to add that separately, through an additional company as a buy-up option.
So we talked earlier about age 65 enrollment dates. You said 3 months prior to their 65th birthday, their birth month, which is the next, and then 3 months after, right? So it's 7
You got
months
it.
time,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So what other dates do we need to be concerned about? Let's suppose we have a person now who is already in a plan, but they want to switch it. Maybe they want to do something different. Are there specific dates for getting out of a plan or switching a plan? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. And I guarantee anyone who has Medicare who's on this call is probably laughing because they know this time of year is when all the commercials and the plans pull out celebrities to be their spokesperson and it's on the radio and they start getting everyone geared up. And I get so many calls saying, I heard this and what about this? So each year it's called annual election period, but basically it's your open enrollment period. And that runs from October 15th to December 7th. So I usually tell my clients, mark your calendar for October 1st. That's when we can discuss any plan changes. They also get something called an ANOC, your annual notice of change, where the company they're enrolled with has to tell them any changes with their plan so that they can discuss those, review those, make sure it's still the right fit for them. And then they can make the change October 15th, again to December 7th for a January 1st effective date. So it would go into effect the first of the new year. And that's just for folks who already have Medicare and have a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare Supplement plan. Again, if you're losing employer group coverage, if you're moving, there's all kinds of different special elections throughout the year. Like we talked about that 7-month window for what we call aging in, turning 65, and then there's special elections for different situations. And that's what I do is you ask me, does this qualify or when can I change? And I can always help, understand those important dates. But that's the key date, October 15th to December 7th.
And so Heidi, there's no penalties for changing plans from 1 year to the next, right?
No penalties at all. You're allowed to and able to, and that's why they give you that window to do so.
Let me go back to another question. Let's see if we can focus on this one. It says, let's see, just moved on me. It says, should I apply for Part B Medicare before I stop working? I'm retiring in April of next year.
So I usually say, kind of going back to that 7-month rule, I usually tell folks 3 months before you plan to retire, contact Medicare. You can apply and online, or you can call them and say, hey, I'm retiring April 1st. Does my employer need to sign anything? Typically, it's fairly smooth. They're used to that. It's very common, but I would say 3 months ahead of time.
Here's another question. Why do different insurance brokers charge differently for different coverages in Part B?
Let me answer a few things. So myself as an insurance agent and broker do not charge anything ever. So for my services, I help people find the right plan, and then I'm reimbursed by the companies. So hopefully that answers that question. So it doesn't matter to me who you enroll with. I just want you to be happy. I get the same amount. So it doesn't affect, I wouldn't try to push you with one plan or the other. The different Part B kind of goes back to what we were saying. It has the standard amount, but the sliding scale, so your income. Now, the insurance companies are all paid through and have different rates because they work with doctors and they have medical groups. Their members, they get funded by Medicare. So Medicare, and we could spend a whole nother 30 minutes talking about this. So I'll try to keep it as basic as I can. But Medicare funds some of the plans. So depending on how many members they have, changes, kind of like with Seth, I was saying those ancillary benefits. Some companies can offer a few extras because they get more funding, or may not. But usually what I tell most clients, if they're charging you $20 more here, guess what? They're making it up somewhere else. This company gives you 20 there, but then they take away transportation. It's almost always a give and take of where they allocate that money. And that's why I say it's up to you to understand what's most important to you. If you say, I'm never going to use transportation, then that's not the plan you're going to pick that really focuses on transportation. I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Right. Perfect. Well, let's see. Do we have another one?
Yeah, we had another question here, Heidi. So they said, I've purchased Plan B or a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medigap plan. They asked, can I change from one plan to another if I'm not happy? I think you already addressed that. You said, yes, we can. They would just have to do it during the open enrollment period. Is that right? Correct.
There is some additional rules if you're with a Medigap or supplemental plan, because those are underwritten. That's why I'm the agent and have to do all the trainings all year. So you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, there's some different rules. But Medicare, as far as a Medicare Advantage plan, those are very easy to switch. You absolutely could switch every year if you wanted to. Obviously, that's not always ideal. And if you're happy with who you have, you don't have to switch. It rolls over to the next year.
But if I get in and I'm not happy, I just have to kind of stick it out until October 15th is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Or really till January.
Yes and no. And again, we could be here for hours because with a Medicare Advantage, there's actually another Medicare Advantage window, January to March 31st, that allows you to change if that scenario happens. So it's very rare that I get that, but every once in a while, hey, this isn't what I thought. We are able to get you changed over. But yes, and there's confusion sometimes with Medicare Advantage and the medical group. So that's why I tell people to call me, because they say, I'm not happy with the insurance, but then it's actually the medical group and doctors. So I know there's so much. So sorry if I talk too much.
So I've got one more question, and then I'll ask a question, and then we're getting close to the end here of our time. Someone says, I live in Utah. Does it matter what state you live in on getting Medicare Part B if I have Part A?
No, that's a great question. I'm actually in 8 states now. So I'm in Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Oregon, Florida. So I actually have a handful of clients in Utah. So as far as the Medicare goes, no, that's standard nationwide for the A and B. Now your plans and the rates for like a supplement may vary slightly. I know from doing clients there, if you're in a, real rural area, that might be different. But if you're in, one of the major cities, it's very similar to California. They have great plans, great benefits.
Thank you. So Heidi, with all that's been said today and all of these different benefits and options, how does someone even know what to choose? I mean, it just seems like there's a big smorgasbord. It all looks good, but what should we be choosing?
Absolutely. That's the question, isn't it? It may be easy to say some of these things, but not always easy to do. And there's so much to understand and things change. So what I tell people is understanding your personal healthcare needs is the best thing that you can do. So making sure you have a prescription drug coverage and that credible coverage, making sure you're taking care of those. But I always tell people the best thing that you can do is be here today. You're learning and educating. And that's what I tell people is my job. My job is to educate you so that you're able to make the best decision for your needs. So understanding what that priority is. So one question I've gotten quite often is, well, what would you do if it was your mom and dad? Well, luckily, I've been able to enroll my mom and dad. And that's kind of ironic. My dad is on a Medicare Supplement or a Medigap plan, the one with the choice of doctors, you pay a bit more. And my mom is going the Medicare Advantage or HMO route to just save money. So every single person varies in your own household. Each of us has different needs, has different things we want. And that's what we really need to do is break that down and get on that right path to understand your needs. And then we're able to help look at those different companies. And like I mentioned with the prescription drugs, looking at your prescriptions that you have can make your plan vary greatly from, your next door neighbor. So looking at that.
Heidi, it looks like there's one more question. We've got one extra minute. And then,
okay.
So it says, on my card for Blue Shield GX, Part B deductible says N. Does that mean no deductible?
No. I think what that means, and I'd have to look up close, but so that's a Medicare supplement plan, which is totally separate. So when you enroll Medicare, you'll have, and I have a little slide for this, but your red, white, and blue paper Medicare card. Then if you enroll with a company, you would have like your Blue Shield G Extra plan. Now with those plans, they all have different benefits. So some of the plans do have a plan deductible. Some of them have different co-insurances. So what that probably means is with that G Extra plan, there's no deductible owed with that medical insurance plan. So like Seth said way early, and I don't know if everyone even remembers, but if you stayed with straight Medicare, you would have a deductible and then 20% and outpatient costs, where this Blue Shield supplemental plan would cover that. And that's what that's saying is you don't have the extra costs.
Perfect.
I hope that answers it.
Thank you. Right on. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think it looks like we're probably coming towards the end of our time here today. And thanks, Heidi, so much for joining us. I know Medicare is a big part of everyone's life. And especially if you're nearing that age, but thanks for coming on with us today. We'd like to announce, our next 30-minute Thursday will be on September 16th. We're going to be talking about annuities and in particular index annuities and lifetime income. So we hope everyone can join us for that. And with that, I turn the time back over to Mike.
Well, anyway, our time is up. We've enjoyed being with each of you. Heidi, you've been terrific. And thank you for all the wonderful questions that you've asked us today. We'll be back together again, as we said, on the 16th of September. Signing off from Rancho Cucamonga. Have a wonderful day. And,
Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Thank you for being with us today.